Some months ago, a German television team contacted me because they had heard about my science challenge and had found a physicist at Georgetown University I could debate.
Okay, now that there's sound. Sorry about that, guys. So I'm calling bullshit on your first statement here, okay? I don't think that any physicist at Georgetown University actually wanted to have a discussion with you. Now, that's not to say that somebody didn't contact you claiming to be a German TV show or something, and wanted to do this with you. They very well could have. But I contacted Georgetown University, and nobody knew what you were fucking talking about. The people that I did email, they haven't gotten back to me yet, but I know that they were in the office today, so I don't I don't think that a real physicist would talk to you. Okay, I really don't think that that was a situation, or it was not nobody on staff there or in the faculty. Okay, so I disagree highly with this first part. Right now, it's just anecdotal, and more than likely, he's bullshitting at this point. I have no reason to believe any kind of anecdotal story that comes out of Mark's mouth.
They also wanted to make it as easy on the scientist as possible, so their idea was simple. They would record me on video, reading 5 quick science-based questions, and then send that recording over to Georgetown, and he would respond in kind. This is what I read on camera.
Prepare Uranus. Ha! That's a planet joke. Ha! Prepare Uranus. Anyways.
1. Long-distance photography. The mainstream science formula for the curvature of the Earth.
Drink!
The sentence.
No, because I know what he's talking about. I'm preemptively taking a shot of Jesus come. So yes, this is the common, oh look, I've got a P9000 and I'm gonna zoom into the horizon and we can see ships coming at us.
Earth is 8 inches per mile squared. An easy comparison would be the falling rate of 32 feet per second. So 8 inches per mile per mile. 2 miles is 2 times 2 equals 4 times 8 inches, or 32. 3 miles is 3 times 3 equals 9 times 8, or 72, and so on.
Yes, Mark, we know how to do basic math. We also know the 8 inches per mile thing, which admittedly, it's not exactly correct. For long distances like he's wanting to use here, it's definitely not applicable. But I mean, it gives you somewhere in the ballpark of what it should be. But also, you're not taking into consideration refraction that allows you to see past the curve. Parcel form. Anyone with a lab coat is a scientist. Well, damn, where's my lab coat? I need to get a lab coat in my wardrobe, and then probably have like a little beaker thing. So I'd be like, I'm science here. How y'all doing? This guy's all full of fucky.
Drink out of.
I can drink out of a. I gotta drink my science real quick, guys. Anyways, if the globe is destroyed, where will I live? Will they make room for us on Flatardia, or are we all gonna die? We're all gonna die, Zero. Thank you for your donation. Sorry, you had to know that. Corey Morrison, 2 plus 2 is 4 minus 1. That 3 quick maths. Man's not hot. I agree.
At 50 miles, the curvature is 50 times 8, coming in at over 1,600 feet of curvature. And yet, with HD cameras, we can pull boats back into frame that are well beyond visual range.
Because of refraction.
Not only does the...
Also, just because it goes out of your own personal eyesight doesn't mean that it's like disappeared over the curve. Obviously, we don't have Hawkeye fucking vision, okay? We don't have vision that can just see until we can't see past the curve, all right? Nor can we see along the curve. Not that the camera can see along the curve, but when the camera zooms in that close to things on the horizon, then you get that nice refraction effect. I mean, huh?
Yes, Peter.
Yeah.
That's
No. It is true. That's what I wasn't very specific about how far out like it goes, but
Or he said, or
yeah. But I mean, like Les said, 8 to 10 miles. It's fairly accurate. After a certain point, though, 8 or 10 miles, it gets even more inaccurate. So there's an actual equation out there that you can run it through and get a more accurate like curve drop or whatnot. And most flat earthers, when they make their video, they go to the Earth curve calculator that actually runs through that, not just the 8 inches per mile like Mark is espousing here.
The new technology clearly show that it's not a mirage, but the same objects can be viewed in infrared and can be targeted ship to ship by beam radar. Can science explain this? They had no answer.
No, they.
Number two.
Hold on. I call bullshit on them not having an answer because I'm fairly certain that they would have an answer. Before you get on to your next point, light acts as both a particle and a wave. So light, the radar signals, those act, as waves, and they operate in the same manner. So the fact that the radars can hit those objects over the curve too makes sense because of how light refracts. The radar signals, those would also refract off of the atmosphere. Puffalophagus 360, Casey, thank you for stopping the doctor from banging on me yesterday because bagging on me yesterday because I asked is instead of was. What was that? Oh, during the non-sex stream. Okay.
well, ideology.
Or ideology. Thank you, Puffalophagus 360. Okay, so, but the refraction easily explains why the radar can see it too. It would also explain why the infrared could see it. So this really isn't a problem. Any physicist would be able to actually describe this to you and explain it to you. My guess is that if you were actually in contact with a physicist, he would probably give you an answer that you didn't like, and so therefore you say, he didn't answer my question. So you're disingenuous on multiple things here, and it's really not all that surprising.
Vacuum versus gravity.
Vacuum versus gravity. Take another shot. Mine are small shots right now because I got to pace this shit out over all of his bullshit.
The force of a vacuum is measured in units of torr, T-O-R-R. Even a low-level vacuum can overcome gravity here on the surface. In building molecule-free chambers for the manufacturing of electronics, a series of massive pumps are needed to create a 99% vacuum. That's -9 torr. And for the remaining 1%, horsepower isn't enough. It can only be achieved by a chemical leaching process. That being said, how is the -10 torr vacuum force of space not ripping off the atmosphere of this world?
Okay, so for one thing, as far as creating a vacuum here on Earth, what you're doing is you're creating a pocket of vacuum. And I mean, I didn't really look up to see how you get a perfect vacuum. I don't know how feasible that is, but in any case, let's just assume it is without checking it. Let's assume that it is. You're still creating a vacuum in a fluid, because all atmosphere is a fluid. It's controlled, or well, fluid dynamics can help explain to you like how it moves, how we're moving through it, how the internal pressure of our bodies matches the external pressure, and that's how we can actually move under one atmosphere of pressure at sea level. You could look up all of those things, but the pure and simple fact is that gravity does exist. The Earth is so large that it holds an atmosphere. That's the reason why we can live here. And because it can hold an atmosphere, the atmosphere stays on it for a certain amount of ways up. And then after that point, yes, we do lose atmosphere. But the air gets thinner. There's an atmospheric gradient as you get higher up in the air. If we were an enclosed dome like this dipshit thinks, then we would expect a more equivalent non-gradient. Like it would be equal in every single layer of the atmosphere, but we don't see that. There's a very top layer that's very thin. And yes, solar winds and all of that can seep off some of the atmosphere, but we are also protected by the magnetic field of the Earth. Whereas, like, for instance, the moon isn't protected by a significant magnetic field. That's why the moon doesn't have an atmosphere, because it doesn't have enough gravity to actually hold an atmosphere, but also the sun, the solar winds and all that other kind of shit out there in space helped exacerbate like the removal of any kind of atmosphere that would have existed on the moon. So those are those two different things. So it's not that the question shouldn't be how does an atmosphere exist next to a vacuum? It should be what causes the atmosphere to remain on the Earth, and that question is gravity. It's all because of gravity. And I know that he probably thinks that this is some kind of magical fucking force that just exists and everything. And true, we don't know a lot about gravity, but we do know enough to describe how it reacts in reality. And I think that as long as we understand the effect of gravity on reality, we can make good observations. We can make good predictions, as evidenced by the ISS in orbit and all the satellites in orbit and us getting to the moon. Like that all depends on an understanding of gravity's effect on our reality.
What is gravity?
What is gravity? I have a what is gravity link below. Anything with mass has gravity. And so, like, right now, my face is attracted to this fucking camera. But the force of the Earth's gravity far exceeds the force of gravity between my face and this fucking camera. So, what is gravity? It's a force in reality that we have to live with. And we can describe, and we can mathematically describe, and we can make predictions using that mathematical formula.
And remember that there are gases that already defy it, like helium, hydrogen, and fluorocarbons.
I disagree with that. They don't defy gravity. They're still subject to gravity. It's not like those particular things just fucking float off of the Earth naturally or anything. I mean, they exist up there in the atmosphere. There's different layers to the atmosphere at which different gases can exist. I disagree with them defying gravity. I mean, sure, buoyancy can explain why lighter elements float to the top, but the fact that it's floating up is indicative of gravity at work. Buoyancy requires gravity, Mark.
Isn't it more logical to suggest that the atmosphere is being contained in an enclosed, pressurized system?
No, it doesn't. Because if you look at any enclosed pressurized system, let's say you got a box where you increase the pressure is going to be equal in every single direction, right? You're going to have the pressure, it's going to be equalized, right? Your box is going to be one particular pressure while the outside's another pressure. Just take tires, for example. It's not like there's a gradient of pressure in a tire from bottom to top. Okay, we would expect that on a spherical Earth where gravity holds an atmosphere onto the Earth. We would expect a gradient. But what would we expect on a dome-covered Earth that's pressurized? We would expect the gases to have the same pressure throughout the entire system. And we don't see that at all. Red's Rhetoric, who I'm sure is still watching right now, he has videos of rockets going up, and you can see the exhaust gases expanding as it gets higher and higher in the air. Just go and watch his videos. Those are proof positive that there's a gradient. Also, anybody that climbs mountains could tell you this shit.
They had no answer.
They would have had an answer. Physicists can answer these things, so that's why I'm calling bullshit on your shit.
Number 3, eclipse shadow. Mainstream science tells us the moon is over 2,000 miles wide, and yet during the 2017 American eclipse, no offense, the moon's shadow was only 70 miles wide.
First of all, I love how he American eclipse, because fuck you, Canada! I love you, by the way. Um, I don't think so. I think this is back in 2017, so it was probably the August eclipse that went across the United States. So yeah, it was an American eclipse, I guess. um, but yeah, I'm gonna let him finish. But I love that part right there. Like fuck Canada, love you Shannon, Apologia, Logic. Oh god, I have so many friends in Canada. Godless Cranium, Vice Rhino, everybody in Canada. I love you.
A reduction of over 97%. This is what the equivalent of having a 6-foot man walking in front of a wall where his shadow is smaller than an action figure at only 2 inches.
Okay, so if you look at the description, I have some links in there that explain the shadow of the moon whenever there's a solar eclipse. Basically, the sun is so big and so far away that when the light hits the moon, there is a sort of focused point that's so big, but then the shadow expands because that's how the light's hitting it. So there's a big blurry thing, and then there's a more focused thing that he's talking about here. And he doesn't understand the whole idea of the two different situations there, because he thinks that the sun is local and small, whereas reality is completely fucking different. Matlock, thank you for the donation. I appreciate you, buddy.
Where do we see this in our everyday lives? We've seen a shadow's actual size and some much larger. Where can we see small shadows? The Flat Earth community says that the moon is less than 50 miles wide, much closer and the same size as the sun. Isn't this explanation also possible?
No, it isn't, because it actually asks more questions than it answers, because then you got to explain what the sun is made out of, what causes it to rotate around in the atmosphere. Why doesn't our atmosphere just set itself on fire because the sun is there? You would have to explain why we have so much solar power that is projected onto a square mile of the Earth, and that would be indicative of whatever the fuck your particular sun's made out of. And then, the questions could go on and on about this shit. Like, how does the whole moon and sun thing work? Is the moon just so far down? Like, is it so far down beneath the sun and it goes under it and it just rotates under it? What's pushing the moon along? How does the gravity of both of the... Well, you guys don't fucking believe in gravity. I don't even know why the fuck I'm bringing that up. Honey, why am I bringing up gravity with this motherfucker?
I don't know. Somebody had asked how magnets work on search for magnets for
They had no answer.
Oh, wait, Steve Bowman says Umbra and Penumbra, or do I have my terms wrong? No, you're right. It's Umbra and Penumbra. I just wasn't thinking about the technical terms and shit. Princess Caroline, G.E., you bring good thoughts to life. Thank you, Princess. I appreciate that.
Number 4, moon temperature. Science
Oh, fucking shit. Hold on.
has yet to address this relatively new discovery that the moon generates a cold light.
Stop him right here. The moon does not present a cold light. There is no cold light coming off of the moon. The moon may reflect some heat from the sun, but that heat is pretty much covered by, the residual heat on the face of the Earth from the day. So you can't really detect any heat coming off of the moon. So there's no cooling light or anything like that. The moon does not produce its own light. The moon reflects light from the sun.
We all know that in the daytime it is 90 degrees in the sunlight, 80 degrees in the shade, depending on the conditions. I know I'm not going to do the Celsius conversion up here, sorry.
Motherfucker, what you do is you divide, let's see, oh fuck. You gotta subtract 32 from your Fahrenheit and then divide by 1.8, motherfucker. See, even with this honey whiskey in my belly and this orange Bud Light, which, to answer Princess, that's what I'm drinking tonight. Even with that, I can fucking remember this shit. Come on, man. I could even do it in my head if I wasn't drinking. Thank you, Reese. Also,
What the fuck was that?
spider. I killed it. There's not a spider anymore.
You like. Where's the body?
I don't know where its body is, honey. I didn't capture its little kill confirmed thing.
However, at night, especially when the moon is high in the sky, we see the opposite. While it might be 50 degrees in the moonlight, it's warmer at 60 degrees in the moon's shade, sometimes showing temperature shifts of over 13 degrees Fahrenheit. In addition, under controlled experiment conditions, magnified moonlight is even colder still.
I like how he said, even under controlled conditions. These people don't know how to do science. I don't know why they think that this is like, you say controlled conditions, and all I can imagine is you out there in front of your fucking trailer or whatever the fuck you live in, and you got a magnifying glass, and you're like, hey guys, look, I can make this go colder. And you're like, you like got the magnifying glass, and you're trying to magnify the fucking light. That's what I imagine out of you, buddy. Oh man. But no, okay, so it's easily explainable why it's cooler like out in the normal versus under some kind of shade at night with a full moon. And pretty simply, under the shade it captures heat, and so therefore it will be warmer because you have heat radiating off of the ground, off of the objects and everything like that, just in general, and it's being captured by whatever shade you're on. And so of course it's going to be warmer there, and then it's going to be cooler wherever, because not only do you have like wind to factor in, but you also have the fact that the heat is radiating off of everything, and it's just not evaporating, but it's escaping, farther away from where you are. It's trying to reach an equilibrium, if you will. Let's see. Pep is a nice guy. Love your vids. Been binge watching them since I discovered your channel. Thank you, Pep. I appreciate that.
Again, the opposite of sunlight. We can generate this with technology today using a cold laser. The question is, why is the moon giving off a cold laser light? They had no answer.
Okay, first of all, this is really stupid. Okay, this is fucking stupid, because laser cooling is a thing. Which, hold on, let me get to laser cooling here in a second. I got a couple of super chats. Corey Morrison, I'll be starting my own YouTube channel. It's a satire skit show on Woo products. Do you have any advice? I've already written the script. I'd love to have you on my channel, or vice versa if you would be inclined. Love ya. Thank you, Corey. I would love to be on there. Just email me at godlessengineering@gmail.com and we can set something up. And I can also talk to you there about any kind of advice I might give you. Tinhead, thanks for the laughs. I'm a teen who converted from creationism to anti-theism. It's hard, but the channel's great. I appreciate that, Tinhead, and if there's anything I can do to help out, feel free to use that email, and I'll definitely talk. So laser cooling. Laser cooling's been a thing for a while, and it's basically when you tune a laser's frequency to the right frequency, and what you can do is you can use the laser to slow down the momentum of atoms, of individual atoms, because the most common kind of laser cooling is Doppler cooling. And basically, you tune it to just the right frequency, and when the laser's photons hit the atoms, it slows them down. This allows you to achieve super cool temperatures of near absolute zero, and that is the function of laser cooling. What Mark here said is that the moon emits a laser cooling light. For one thing, the light that is reflected off of the moon is not finely tuned to laser cool the fucking Earth. Okay, and even if it was, we do not see the effect of a laser cooling fucking light being reflected off of the moon, because the moon can't create its own light, Mark. We know this for a fact. We've known this for a fact for hundreds of years.
Last but not least,
Oh shit.
The Van Allen belts. A
Oh
simple yes
fuck.
or no.
The Van Allen belts. I got just enough left for this last thing. I think it might be the last dumbass thing he says. Let's hope so.
Question. Are the Van Allen radiation belts deadly? If yes, then how did Apollo 11 through 17 make round trips through these belts with only aluminum and plastic as shielding?
Ha! They didn't! Now, I know that a lot of flat earth fucks would want to use that against me and be like, he just admitted that he didn't! But that's not what I mean. I mean that you're presenting a straw man argument here, because they didn't just use aluminum and plastic. They had, they had multiple layers of insulation, which also included a gold foil. Like, they had a gold covering on most of it. Like, on the lunar lander it had it, but also on the command module, the one that orbited, around the moon while the lunar module was on the surface, it was also insulated, not with exactly like the gold foil around the outside of it, but the instrumentation and the actual ship was insulated enough to where it was able to absorb like the radiation that it was experiencing. Not only all of that though, but they went through the thinnest portions of the Van Allen belt quickly. Actually, none of the astronauts absorbed more than 0.5 rads. Now, that's like what is it? It's like 1 or 2 X-rays worth of radiation is what they absorbed. Shit, hold on. I got a few super chats I got to look at. Philip Woodward, 10 head. Philip Woodward, 666. Hey there, Phil. How you doing? Maylock 1824. Here is your shout out test vision. I can still read. I'm not that drunk. Okay. Oh, test vision is somebody who's watching. I thought they were testing how drunk I was. Can you read this, GE? You goddamn. Maybe.
No one died, no one got radiation poisoning, nobody even got cancer.
Also, another fun fact is that the astronauts actually had monitors like on them as far as how much radiation they actually absorbed. That's how, if you actually look in the description at the link that I have there about it, you can actually see a table for how much each astronaut or the astronauts in general on each mission absorbed in radiation. And it's literally less than like 2 X-rays. Puffaluffagus, gee, how much to get you to crash one of Mark's speeches? I would have to know where he's at, because I would definitely get in the crowd and be like, oh, Mark, you're dumb as fuck, buddy. You're stupid. Or I'd probably shout like, you're wrong. Here's why. Shut the fuck up.
I think there's still like 5 left. Radiation is only stopped by 2 metals, lead and gold.
Oh, what the fuck you know? There was gold on the lunar lander. Also, there was plenty of other radiation absorbing materials on the hull of the ship. Like, there was enough insulation to protect them, but also the radiation that they actually absorbed was very low because they went through the Van Allen radiation belts very quickly. They did not spend a lot of time there.
Both are very heavy and cannot be used in aerospace because of their weight. If the answer is no, the belts are not deadly, then explain the video currently on the NASA.gov website called Orion Trial by Fire, in which NASA clearly states the belts are so dangerous they will not be testing manned capsules because they are unable to solve the radiation problem.
Well, the current radiation problem is because of our digital instrumentation. The previous instrumentation was analog, and so it wasn't affected in the same way as the radiation doesn't affect analog as it does digital. So what we have to do is we have to figure out a way to make something that we can actually send up to the moon or past the Van Allen belts and not fry our instrumentation. That is the current problem versus he's wanting to transpose that to the Apollo and say, oh, well, you couldn't have done it then because you can't do it now. And it's like, well, no, we've scrapped the technology for now because it's outdated and we need new technology. So we have to figure out new ways to get past it. We've got to figure out new ways to protect our instrumentation because of how our instrumentation is set up. Tang removes radiation.
Keep in mind, this is not an old video. It was created at the end of 2014. The scientist viewed my recording and folded like a card table.
I sincerely doubt that. Bullshit again. I haven't been drinking about bullshit stuff, just the dumb things he says, but I would drink right now if I could.
This piece was never aired. All that being said, my name is Mark Sargent.
Huh? Oh, no, wasn't asking for more.
Sargent, and I'm a flat earther.
I like how it's like a flat earther anonymous thing. Yeah, he's like, I'm Mark Sargent, and I was molested by NASA. I am a flat earther. Okay, he acts like he's at some kind of like support group. Milwaukee Atheist, look how drunk you are. You're reneging this wrong. I didn't renege this wrong. I don't even know what that means, buddy. I know. But he said raidening. Raideneg. Thank you, Lawrence. I appreciate it. Alright, so that's it for Mark's video tonight. These are his 5 proofs of the world is flat and not a globe, and why you shouldn't believe in a globe Earth. So I don't feel like his questions are all that hard. I think that his questions would have been easily answered by a physicist. So I don't think the physicist from Georgetown would have just folded like a whatever the fuck he said. So yeah, I find his story to be utter bullshit, and his reasons to be shit themselves too.